Hey folks, so welcome back to the Angular e-commerce mega tutorial where we are building this Angular e-commerce store front end especially and with an add to cart functionality here like this as you can see. So we're going to build this exactly in this part, which is actually the part 4, which we're going to build the product cart. And apologies for my voice a bit because I got a virus and it's still there somewhat. So the first thing we need to do here would be to add the cart state, and we need to add the cart method. Then we need to build the product cart page, which would be the cart items with this nice quantity selector as you can see. And then we'll have this Tease wishlist option here, which means that it's going to show the wishlist items here like this as well. And we can also add them back to the cart here like this. And then we have this nice summarize order component. And all of this will be integrated with the NgRx SignalStore. And if you don't want to follow along the tutorial, don't want to wait for more parts to complete this, you can get the final code to inspect it, to use it in any of your projects on the link in the description to check it out. It's going to take you to my website here in the code shop as you can see, zayabkhan.com/shop/Angular ecommerce. And you're going to also find a live demo of this, which you can check out before you would like to purchase it. So anything you purchase from my shop, it directly supports the channel and helps me in bringing you more tutorials like this. Okay, so let's get started. So in the last part, we created this products wish list as you can see here, in which we could delete our products from the wish list. We could add them here like this, but the cart doesn't work. So in this video, we are going to build the complete cart functionality. So let's first add the functions that we need for adding to the cart here. Okay, let's go to our e-commerce store first of all. We need to first add a state, which is going to tell us how many items do we have in the cart and all of their details. So apart from products, category and wishlist items, we would also like to add a cart items here like this. Okay, now so this will be a different type because for each cart item, we also want to have an associated quantity with it, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new model here and we are going to do cart.ts. And in cart.ts, what we're going to do is we're going to define a cart type here. Now this will have a product and it will have the quantity of the product. Okay, so nice and simple, nothing complex. And we're going to come back to our store here and we're going to tell the type as a cart item array here like this. Let's import this. Let's call this cart item, fix this, and let's import it now so we can now get cart items like this. And for the cart item here, initially they will be empty. Okay, so the first function that we want to is the very simple function of add to cart that we can bind it to our buttons. So we're going to first do add to cart here like this. So add to wish list, and after add to wish list, in fact from player wish list as well, and add to cart is going to take our product that we want to add to the cart, and it's also going to take a quantity. Okay, now this quantity will be initially 1 because for normal cases we want to just add one quantity. But in the product detail page, we can also add multiple quantities at one time. So we're also going to create this function in a way that we can also pass in multiple quantities. Okay, great. So this is your function. And in fact, we should do it something like this, similar to the pattern that we have for our other functions here. Okay, so for add to cart, what we want to do is we first want to check if this product is in our existing cart or not. If it isn't in the existing cart, we don't need to push it to the cart. We just need to add the quantity to it. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to first find out if it is existing. So if it's existing item, and let's also say that, okay, this is existing item index. So we're going to just get the cart items and we will do find index I, and I dot product dot I is equals to product dot I. Okay. And then we're going to create the updated cart items. Now this, as I said before in the previous video, we are using Immer for this. So we can actually just use Immer here and you can use the produce function. We can give the previous cart items here like this and then the draft, and then we can change things here. Okay. Now here, what would be the updated cart items? So if it is an existing item index is not equals to -1, that means it's existing. What we want to do is we want to do draft, and in the existing item index, we don't want to change anything except for the quantity. So we just want to add the quantity to this existing quantity, all right? And we can do just return here, all right? Otherwise, we are going to add it in the normal case, which would be draft push. And here then we need to give in our product and our quantity along with this. Okay. So this will be our updated cart items, and in the end, we are going to do path state, and we will do cart items, updated cart items. So again, just to refresh, the produce function actually gives us an immutable copy of the store.cart items so that it doesn't have any problems when propagating changes through the Signals APIs, okay? Because the Signals APIs only show changes on the UI if the change in objects is immutable, okay? So path state, and then right after we have path state, we are going to also do toaster.success. And here the success message is going to be a bit different for the two cases. So if it's existing item index, we can give that product added again. Otherwise, you're going to give product added to the cart, right? So our add to cart functionality is done. Let's test it out by binding it with our add to cart functions on the UI. So let's go to your product card first of all. In product card, we are going to go down here and it says add to cart click.emit. We actually don't want to do this. In fact, we're just going to do store. We don't have store injected here yet. So we're just going to remove this. We're directly going to use store is equals to inject e-commerce store. And we're going to do store dot add to cart. And the first one would be the product here like this. The second one would be 1 here. In fact, if we don't even send it, it's going to assume it's as 1. Okay. So let's save this and let's try it out. So we're going to see continue shopping, and then we can do add to cart using the product added again, add to cart, product added again. So I think the logic is a bit faulty. The message is not clear. So we want to actually give this message -1. Okay. So now we are going to get add to cart, product added to the cart. If we do it again, product added again. But if we do another product, product added to the cart. Okay. So this functionality is working, but where do we actually show it? We haven't linked it in the cart items anywhere, and neither do we have any indicator here. So let's add it to the UI here. Let's go in our header, and in our header actions, what we're going to do is in the shopping cart section here, we want to use another badge here. Okay, so in the button here, we are going to do mat badge, and this is going to be store dot. So we don't have any count added in the store for the cart items. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back in the store and we're going to add a new computed here, wishlist count and cart count. Okay. And this will be a computed. This computed, we are going to do cart. In fact, we need to add cart here as well in the D structure. So cart items dot len. Okay. Okay. So let's save this. And now we can go back to your header action and we can say cart count here like this. And also match pad should be hidden when we have the cart count is equals to 0. Okay. Let's check it out again. So we do add to cart. And now we can see this nice indicator. So once you're adding the product again, you can see that it's not adding things again here. So it's sort of tells you the number of distinct products, you can say. Now, if you want to make it into something different, so if you want to make it count all of the products and their quantities, you can actually just use a reduce function as well here. So instead of cart items here, you can do not reduce and you can get each item and then you can add it to the item quantity and initial will be 0. So this is going to add up all of the quantities and is going to give you the final thing here. Okay. So now if you check it out, you're going to see that even if you add the same product again and again, it's going to increase the count to what it is. All right. So let's now create our cart page and show all of these products on the cart page. And to do that, we need to create a new component. So we are going to create a new page, NgRx, and in the pages folder, we're going to call this page view cart. Okay, and we're going to go in our app.roots and we are going to add a new path here, or in fact, we're just going to copy paste this. And in this path, we're going to say cart, and this will be view cart and view cart. We can also make this as default. All right. So we have our view cart here. Let's link it up with the header action button here. So we're just going to do router link and we're going to do cart here. Okay. All right. Let's try this out. So now we go to this view cart page here like this. Okay. So let's build up the view cart here. That's our next step. Okay. So let's go in our view cart component and add some initial code to this. So we're going to add an initial div to this, which will be MX auto max width 1200 pixels and padding of y6. And then after that, we need a back button, as you can see. So we're going to reuse our back button, which is really nice. So we're going to say continue shopping here like this, and navigate to will be products and all as before. Let's give it a margin bottom of 6 as well. Okay, so we have our back button here. Then we have a heading, which will be a big one, 3XL, a font extra bold, margin bottom of 4 to get that spacing. And then within that, it would be our shopping cart here like this. Okay, let's see how that looks. So you can see we have continue shopping and shopping cart here like this. Great, let's add some more. So now next we need to add this tease wishlist section, but we're going to do it after that. First, let's build up our list of cart items. Okay, so to do that, first we're going to do another container here like this, and we're going to make it into a grid. We're going to make it a 1-column grid initially on a mobile, but for a larger sizes, we're going to do grid columns 3, right? And we're going to give a gap of 6. This makes us for a nice little layout. Okay, so the left side of this layout, so if you look at your final layout here, you will see that we have this Tease wishlist, which we'll do in a bit, but we need to actually build this. So you can see that this is a grid layout, and we have 2 items, 2 sort of columns here and 1 column here. So this is how we have designed that. Okay, so we have this section that we need to first create. So let's create this section, and this section we are going to do in a separate component, but it's going to be in a div with a column span of 2, but only on large screens. Okay, otherwise you want to do it on 1. Okay, so within this div, then we're going to create our component, which we're going to call as NgGC, and we're going to put this inside of our view cart folder because it is just related to that page. And so we're going to do list of cart items. Okay, and we're just going to use this list cart items here. Okay, now let's build up these list cart items. So within these list cart items, we will have first of all some container here, and you can see here that we have a layout here in this space. So this is sort of a panel view. As you can see, this is similar to all of the panels that we have here. So first let's add the styling for that. So you're going to do border gray 200, and we have rounded XL, padding 6, and a background of white. All right. So if we save this, you can now see that we have this nice little panel here. Okay, now so this is something that is common. So in this case, we would like to utilize directives. Okay, so let's just look at how we can actually create our own directives in Angular. So directives are sort of a superpower in Angular. They are reusable pieces of logic that you can attach to the DOM element. So there are 2 kinds of directives. In this one, we are just going to make an attribute directive, which is the first type, and it's actually just a directive which can change the appearance or a bit of functionality of a DOM element. All right. The other type is a structural directive, as you can see here. So this structural directive basically can change the structure of the DOM. Okay, so when you need to change the structure of the DOM, you need to add items or delete items. In those cases, we use a structural directive. So structural directives are a bit advanced, but we're gonna use an attribute directive here to actually create our view panel here, so that we can just apply it in the future to all of these other places as well really easily. How do we create an attribute directive? Well, it's really simple. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a directive using ngg, and we give directive here. Instead of component, we give directive here, or you can also give d. And then we're going to create this in a special directives folder because it's reusable. We're going to call this view panel, okay, because it's a view panel directive. Let's create this. And you can see that we have in our directive, we have our view panel here like this. Now, as it turns out, this is a very simple directive, and you can see the selector is app view panels. This is a very simple directive, and it just involves adding some classes to your specific element. So we can actually add some code to actually go in our DOM element and add those classes ourselves through JavaScript. But there's an easier way, and that is actually using the host property of directives. So the host property actually can apply different classes or functionality or list to your host element. So whatever element the directive is attached to on the template is going to attach all of these things to that. Okay, so we're going to do just class here, and in the class, we're just going to copy paste the list of these classes that we have. Okay, and we're going to do this here like this. Okay, so that is just about it, the simplest directive, and you actually are using these directives every day when you use material components. All right, now we can add this, import this directive to this div here, and we can do app view panel here like this. So you can see it imports this and it uses the app view panel. Now you can see that our layout did not change at all because we are actually applying the same set of classes that we did before, but in a much more user-friendly way now. So we have our container here. Let's build up the other items here. So we're going to give a sub sort of heading here of h2. This will be cart items. And in our brackets, we're also going to show the item count. So we already have our item count, as you can see. And we're going to store inject e-commerce store here like this. Store dot item, sorry, cart count like this. And let's style our h as well. This would be text to Excel and font would be bold, margin bottom 4. Okay, let's then build the rest of the stuff. So we are going to do div, and this you want to arrange in a sort of a flex column from top to bottom, and there would be a gap of 6. Okay, within that we are going to be using the for control flow loop and item of store.cart items, and we will track these items by the product.id because in each item we have just one product, so one type of product. So we're going to do product.id here like this. Okay, now within that we are going to show each of our list items, but we want to keep it in a separate component because it can be complex. So we are going to create a new subcomponent here, and we're going to do 3 pages, and we're going to call this as show cart item. Okay, and this will be app show cart item, and it's going to take in the cart item itself. So we're going to send in the item here like this. Okay, so all of this is set up. Now we just need to build our cart item here like this. Firstly, we want to add our item here as an input. So this input is from Angular core and it's basically a cart item. Having a type really helps us here. So now in this template, we are going to do, first of all, a grid layout because it has a lot of functionality within this. So it will be a grid. It will be a grid of columns 3. Okay. So you can see here in our grid. So this is this layout here. So you can see we have 3 grid columns here like this. So that's why we are doing grid columns 3 here. Grid columns 3, and then we have grid columns, and then we can also tell it how to arrange or what would be the width of the columns. So the first column we want to do 3 fractional width, then we have 1 fractional part, and then we have 1 fractional part. Okay, so this just tells you that the first part is going to take 3, 1 and 1. Okay, so it's going to divide it in that sense. Okay, then for the first one we'll have flex and item center and then a gap of 4. Within this we'll have our image here. So our image will be, then the source will be item, but in fact we should also make this required because this is required here, and so that we don't get this issue here. So item.product.image URL like this. Okay, we can just give it a class of width 24 and height 24. We can give it a rounded LG. Okay, we can give it object cover, something like this. So let's see how this looks right now. So we don't have any cart items here, so let's add some cart items. Okay, let's go to our cart, and you can see the images look really nice here. We need to keep our text here like this as part of this. So we're gonna give it these 2 text items here. So we're gonna call this as here, and we can call this a div. And within this div, we can give 2 of these. So first would be item.product.name, and the other would be item.product.price. Okay, we're gonna use the dollar sign here, and then I'm gonna style it a bit. So I'm gonna say text gray 900, text LG, and font semi bold. Okay, similarly we can also copy this here. It will be a bit different, so it will be text 600, and we don't want the semi bold here. Okay, let's see how this looks now, and you can see the text look really nice here. Okay, so next we need this quantity selector and this price here. Okay, so for the quantity selector, what we're going to do is we are going to create a separate component as well because we want to make this reusable. All right, so let's do ngGC, and we're going to put in our component. We're going to call it as qty selector. Okay, and then here we are going to use app qty selector here like this. Okay, and let's build this up. So this will be a purely reusable or presentational component. It's just going to take an input and give back the output. So it's a div, and it has flex, item center, gap 3, and then we have div within it. As you can see, it has 3 parts to it. So there's a text between, and then there are 2 buttons on the right side here. So we're going to make this like that. The first is, so it would be called inline flex within that, and item center. Then within that we'll have 3 buttons. So we'll have a button here, and it will be mat icon button. Okay, and also we want this button to be disabled based on something. So we're going to keep an input here, and let's say we have a quantity, and this is an input. We're going to give an initial of 0, so that means it's going to infer it as an input. And then we'll also have an output here, which is going to tell the parent component if anything has changed. So it's gonna do it like this. Okay, so quantity, and so if the quantity is 1, we actually want to disable this. Quantity is 1. We don't want to reduce it further because it doesn't make sense. All right, so that's the minimum. And within this, we will have the mat icon, which would be remove for the first one. And then for the next one, we will have add. And for this one, we're not going to disable this. So for the click, what we're going to do is we're going to do quantity updated emit, and we are going to do the existing quantity -1. Okay, and similarly we can do for this, we can do quantity updated emit, and we can do quantity +1 like this. Okay, and within this we'll show the current quantity, which is quantity. All right, and we'll give a sort of a padding on both sides so that there's some spacing in between. All right, so we have our quantity component, and we're getting some error here on the imports here. So it has imported from the wrong import path here. Let's save this. Now let's add and see what we're getting here. So you can see we have our this. It's not working currently, so we need to bind it to our cart item here like this. So for an input here, we are going to do in our quantity here as an input, we want to give it a sort of an expression, and that would be the item quantity here like this. And then when it changes, we actually want to do something in this case. So for quantity updating, we need to add a new function for it in the e-commerce store. So let's leave that for now, and let's continue on our building the layout here. So we're going to add another thing here, and this will be the last part where we're going to show the price. Okay, so this is going to be flex column and items end. This items end is because you want to align things to the right side here like this. Okay, on the absolute right side, you will see that in a bit. So let's go ahead and add up the rest of the stuff here and build this quickly. So first of all, we will need this section where we are going to show the price of each product multiplied by the quantity here. So we have a div here. How do we show that? Well, we have one item here, so we can create a computed here, and we can call this okay, let's say computed, and this is going to do this dot item dot product dot price multiplied by this dot item dot product, or in fact just the quantity. Okay, and then we are going to do all of this to fixed here like this to 2 decimal places. Okay, so this is your total, and now we can use the total here. So whenever anything changes, it's going to update the total here. So this class is then going to be text right. So we're going to align this to the right, font semi bold, and text LG here. Okay, so this will be a total. Now below this total, we have 2 buttons here. As you can see, we have the heart button and the wishlist button and the delete button. So we need to arrange that. Okay, so let's add these 2 buttons here. We're going to do button, mat icon button, and within that we'll have the mat icon, which would be favorite underscore border. And you can see it has again imported from the wrong place. Now when you're doing it with AI, with some autocomplete, it's gonna automatically get it. So it's not really that big of a deal. Okay, so favorite border, and the same thing we're gonna do. And we also want to do containing div here because we want to arrange these in horizontal fashion, not in vertical. So we're just gonna do flex, and flex row will be assumed. And we're going to also give it a margin, a negative margin of 3 on the right side. So that is aligned perfectly with that. Okay, so the second button is going to be delete button, and the delete button is going to have a class of danger. This is a custom class that we created in the styles to style any of our buttons as the danger, you're taking in from material design colors. Okay, and then we can just now add our store functions to it, and it's going to work. Okay, let's add our cart items here, and you can now see that we have our nice looking layout here. Okay, now for this purpose, you can see that it's not really working. What we want to do is we want to add some functionality to our e-commerce store. So let's go to our e-commerce store, and we're going to add a functionality here for setting the item quantity. Okay, because you want to set a specific item quantity in that case. So here, in terms of the params, we're gonna get the product ID, which would be a string, and then we would get the quantity that we want to set, which would be a number. Okay, now for this case, what we're gonna do first, we're gonna find the existing index. So store.cart items find index, and we are going to do c.product is equals to product ID, params.product ID. Okay, and it's going to give an updated this. It's going to produce from the store.cart items, and we'll have a draft where we will simply do draft index is equals to index.quantity is equals to params.quantity. Alright, and then at the end, we're going to just do path state here like this. Store and the cart items are gonna be updated here like this. Okay, so set item quantity, and then we're gonna go in our show cart item here. And in each of this, we are just then gonna bind it directly to our quantity updated function here. So we're gonna do store.set quantity, and here we're gonna give our product ID as our item product.id, and in the quantity we are going to give as $event, which we are sending from our quantity selector here. All right, so let's save this, and now when we test this out, you can see add to the cart. Now when we increase our cart items, you can see everything works perfectly because everything is bound to the store. This computer also automatically calculates. Okay, so let's build up the rest of the stuff. And so we have a Tease wishlist section at the top. Let's create that quickly. Okay, so for the Tease wishlist, we're going to create a new component, which will be in the pages, and in view cart, we're going to call this Tease wishlist. Okay, so we have added this, and then we can simply go in our view cart here, and above this shopping cart, we can do app Tease wishlist, and we can build up on this. So in this wishlist, the first thing, as you would see, we can actually just use the app view panel to give that panel field. And then we also want to add some extra classes. So it will be a flex, item center, and justify between. So on the left side, we will have a big icon. Okay, and that would be in a flex. So we'll first do flex items center and gap 3. And then within that, we'll have a matte icon here. Let's import this. This is going to be favorite border. And we're also going to give this a color of red 500. And then right beside it, we'll have some text with a heading saying that, okay, this is wish list. And we're going to get some wish list items here. So let's inject the store here as well. So you can see that we don't actually send in a lot of inputs and outputs because we are just using the store inside of different components that we have. So this makes it really easy for us to access the data wherever we want. Okay, so we can just use the wishlist count here, and then below that we can say you have store.wishlist count items saved for later. Okay, and let's style these as well. So the heading would be text Excel and font bold, but the P is gonna be a bit grayish in text and a smaller text here like this. Okay, so let's test this out. Now you can see we have this nice wish list here like this. So we need some space as well below this. So we are going to do in your view cart, you can see we have our margin bottom here. So we can give a bit of margin bottoms 6 here, and it doesn't apply because we don't have a block. So we also need to give a block here. So we'll also give a display block here. Okay. So we have this nice looking thing, and if you now see add to cart, and you also add some in the wish list, you're going to see the wish list state is also you have 2 items saved for later. So let's go back to the Tease wish list, and let's add a button at the right side to actually add and subtract from the wish list. So we have this, and we can then do, so we can just copy paste this because it will be similar, and we can paste this here. Okay, and then within this we'll have a button, which will be a matte button with no type because it will be text type. And then we'll have a router link. It's gonna allow us to go back to the wish list. Okay, this is gonna be view, or let's close up this button. Okay, and you can see that it's important matte anchor. We actually want matte button here. Okay, and the next button is then gonna be matte button filled, and this is gonna be add all to the cart. Okay, and of course it will have a matte icon. Let's import it. Right, it's gonna import it itself. And in the icon, we are going to do shopping underscore cart. Icons always give a nice edge to your buttons and to your vibe. But of course, it takes a bit of time to add them, but it's worth it. Okay, so we have this. We need to arrange our button content in a better way. So we are going to do flex item center and with a gap of 2. Okay, let's save this. And now you can see our layout looks nice. So view all, it goes to the wish list, and then add all to cart should add it all to cart. Okay, so let's add a functionality to add these things to the cart. Okay, so we want to add a store function where we are going to add things to the carts. Add all wish list to the cart. Okay, this is going to be a function. We don't need to send any parameters here. So we can do updated cart items directly here, and we can do produce again store.cart items, and in the draft we can simply do store.wishlist items, and for each item, or in fact let's make this p for a product. And so we're going to do if draft find c.product.id is equals to p.id, which means if it does not find it in the cart items, if it does not find it, then it's going to add it in. Okay, so if it does not find it, then we are going to push the item to the cart. And so we're going to do product, which is going to be p here, and for the quantity we are going to do 1 because it wasn't already there, so it will be just 1 of it. Otherwise it's not going to do anything because that product is already in the cart. All right, so we have our updated this here at state, and in the store we can then do cart items and we can do updated cart items. But you see, add all wishlist to the cart. So once you add all wishlist to the cart, basically you don't need the wishlist to have anything. So wishlist items can be empty here like this. Okay, so add all wishlist to the cart. Now let's go to the Tease wishlist and let's bind it here. So we're gonna do store.add all wishlist to the cart like this. Let's save this. Okay, now when we click on this, nothing happens because there's nothing in the wish list. So let's add a few products to the wish list and add a few to the cart as well, and check out whether we can actually do that. So if we add all to the cart, you can see that we add only the ones that are missing. Then this works, but we also need to send it back to the wish list. So we need to add functionality for these. So we are going to do 2 more functions. So we need to do move to wish list and we need to do remove from cart. Okay, so let's add a function here again then for move to wish list. Okay, so let's go to e-commerce store again and let's add move to wish list. So now see how we are adding all of our functionality or business logic in one place, so that it's easier to look at in the future and we don't spread it out in our different components as well. Okay, so move to wish list, and what should we move? The product. Okay, so moving to the wish list means that we need to remove it from the cart items and we need to add it to the wish list. All right, so removing it from the cart items is simple. So we can do updated cart item. We don't need to use any Immer for that because we can use the filter function as I said before. So we can do cart items, filter p, and p.product.id is not equals to product.id. So we have removed it from it, and filtering ensures that we have an immutable copy of this cart items. Okay, great. So we have removed it for the cart item, but we also need to add it to the wish list. Now to the updated wish list, we need to actually use Immer for this because we actually want to selectively update, because we want to create an immutable copy of this. Okay, so let's do produce and store.cart items, in fact not cart and store.wishlist items, and then for draft we are then going to go, if we don't find it in the draft like this product id, then we only need to push it in the draft. Otherwise we don't need to push it again and again. All right, so we can just do product here like this. Now of course this is just a very simple way to achieve this data manipulation. So let's say we have cart items here and we do updated cart items, and we have wishlist items here. We can do updated wishlist items. Okay, so move to wishlist is done. We don't need to also add another simple functionality, and that is remove from cart. Okay, so this is gonna be, we need to remove this product from the cart, and really simple. We can just use the filter and we can path state directly here. So we can do path state store cart items. So we can do store.cart items dot filter where c.product id is not equals to product.id. Okay, so we have removed from cart, and then we can go with the show cart item and we can bind it to our 2 buttons here. So we can do store.move to wishlist, item.product, and we can do click store.remove from cart, and we have item product here like this. Okay, let's try this out and let's see whether all of our functionality is complete for these two sections. So we can do 2 of these here and 3 items in the cart here like this. Let's add some more and let's go in our cart here like this, and you can see we have our 2 buttons here. So let's not try everything. We have 2 items in the wish list. Let's add all to the cart. So you can see we have 6 items now in the wish list. Let's increase this. You can see the count increasing. Everything is increasing fine. You can reduce it. It works fine. Oh, we don't have a dollar here. Okay, we need to have a dollar here as well. Okay, so we can do something like this. Okay, so we have a dollar here like this. And then we have this. So we can reduce this. We can improve this. And we can also delete this. So once we delete it, the cart items reduce. We can delete this as well. Or we can move it back to the wish list to actually add them later if you'd like to. We can add it back to the cart as well. Great. So all of this shifting functionality from the wish list to the cart items is now complete. We just need to add the summarize section here at the right side. Okay, so now the last thing that we need to do for the view cart page is to add this order summary section here, which is quite of an easy thing in terms of all of the other functionality that we have added. So let's add that. We're going to add this in the view cart. We're going to add this right at the end here. Now this is the column span 2 here for the list card items, but on the right side, we will have another div, which is going to be our summary. And so within this, we are going to create a new component, which we're going to call as, we're going to put this in our pages view cart, and we're going to call this as summarize. In fact, we're going to reuse this component. So we're going to put this in the components folder. Okay, we're going to call this as summarize order. Okay. And the summarize order we are going to do as something like this. Import this here. And then within this, as usual, we're going to add app view panel initially. Now see how directives really improved. Now you can make more directives for different places in the app for the common functionality that you have, and it's really easy and simple to use. Okay, so for the summarize order, we'll have, first of all, a heading at the top here, and this is going to be order summary. It's going to be text to Excel, font bold, and margin bottom 4 here like this. Okay, now in order to make this a bit easier to style, we can also do it something like this. Yeah, like this. Okay, so you can actually just see your style here as well. Okay, so we have order summary here like this. Let's also move this a bit here so that you can see in a better way. Okay, so we have order summary, and then below that we will have a div, and we're going to call this, we're going to give a space between that, a text LG, and padding top 4. Okay, so a bit of padding after the order summary, and then we'll have 3 things: subtotal, tax, and we'll have the total which we want to show. Okay, but where do we actually get this data? So we can add it to our summarize order as computed here. So for that, we'll need to first inject this here. So let's say that we create here, below here, we first create the subtotal here like this. And this will be computed. We can compute it by using the cart items really easily. So this store.cart items, and we're going to reduce. And for each item, let's increase this sort of time here. For each item, what we're going to do is we're going to add it to the previous one, and the item.product.price, and multiply it by the item.quantity here like this. Okay, and then initially it's going to be 0. This is going to be your subtotal as a number, and then we'll have your tax here. So let's say your tax is about 5%, just assuming things here. Okay, so let's say we have 0.05 multiplied by this dot subtotal here like this. Okay, and then we'll have your total. Your total will be this dot subtotal minus your tax. Okay, so you can see we have these 3 really easy calculations using computers, and then we can just put these all here. So we're going to create 3 sections here. Each section is going to be flex and justify between, and then there will be an inside of it. The first will be subtotal, and then we'll have dollar, and we'll have subtotal here like this. Okay, similarly, let's copy this, and this is gonna be tax. Let's make this tax here like this. Then we will have total here, and here we'll have total. Now for the total one, the layout will be a bit different. So flex justify between, and then it will also have a border at the top and a padding top, and it will be font bold text LG here like this. Okay, so let's see how this looks. Now you can see we have a subtotal, we have a tax, we have total here. And let's see how this looks. So we have a border here as well. So we can add a border here as well. So we can do a T like this. Okay. Something similar. Okay. Subtotal in this. And now if you want to test this out, so we can add some things. We can add some things to your this. So we can add some products to the cart. And you can now see that we have this. But you can see that we have more than 2 decimal places here. So we need to format this correctly. And because otherwise it's going to result into these things sometimes. Okay, so in order to have accurate calculations, I'm also going to add Math.round here to the values so that we don't have any inconsistency in that case. So for the tax as well, especially, we need to add a Math.round. And then finally in the total as well, we need to do, in the total we actually don't need to, so that's fine. Okay, so now you can see we have these values here. Let's add some things here, add some products, and you can now see that everything is now in terms of an integer, makes it easier for us to this. And then the calculation is also accurate. So if you can see, we have 580 and 29. So you can see this value is accurate, all right? So we have this total here, and you can see that we now have our nice order summary page here. Great. So this brings us to the end of this part in which we built up this add to cart functionality and the view cart functionality, the whole of it. And you can see that the store, keeping the store makes it really, really easy for us to add such functionality, interactive functionality. So in the next part, we are going to go forward and we're going to do the checkout portion here. So we're going to add a button here, proceed to checkout, and go on the checkout page where we'll have our shipping information and all of that. And also we'll also have the sign in and sign out functionality. And just a reminder that the code is on my shop. So if you want to get it, you can get it right now from the link in the description. It helps support the channel. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time in the next part.